In 2020, Joe Biden was getting 86% of the African American vote. Look at where it is now. It's 70%. That's a 16-point drop, John. And more than that, it's not just that Joe Biden is losing ground, it's that Donald Trump is gaining ground. I keep looking for signs that this is going to go back to normal, and I don't see it. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless.
Donald Trump was in Detroit, and he gave remarks to multiple groups, including a group of predominantly African-American voters who flocked there to hear something new. And Trump's inroads with the black voters in America is causing a panic right now in the media and with Democrats. But I repeat myself, take a look at how CNN is taking the news.
Well, first of all, it's going to be a very close election. Every one of them is. Secondly, there's no universe in which Donald Trump is going to get 21% of the black vote. That's never going to happen.
Wow. You know, and maybe it's me, but when the chair of the Biden campaign makes a guarantee like that it's never going to happen, that those kind of votes are going to come in, it almost makes me feel like they know that the fix is in. There's no way he's going to get that many black votes. We've got way too many plans in place where they count the ballots in Philadelphia and Detroit. Oh, wait, I've said too much. Yeah, well, they took to the there's one more CNN clip here to talk a little bit what polls are showing right now about the black vote. Let's take a look at that one.
CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton is with us. So where does the race stand among African-American voters right now?
Yeah, I keep looking for this to change, to go back to a historical norm. And it simply put has not yet. So this is the margin, or Biden and Trump among black voters, compare where we were at this point in 2020, compare where we are now. You know, at this point, look at this. In 2020, Joe Biden was getting 86% of the African American vote. Look at where it is now. It's 70%. That's a 16-point drop, John. And more than that, it's not just that Joe Biden is losing ground, it's that Donald Trump is gaining ground. You go from 7%, single digits at this point in 2020, to now 21%. And again, John, I keep looking for signs that this is going to go back to normal, and I don't see it yet in the polling. If anything, right now, we're careening towards a historic performance for a Republican presidential candidate, the likes of which we have not seen in 6 decades.
And when you dig into this number here, what is the makeup of that number?
This is where we get very interesting. So I decided to dive deeper into the crosstabs, figure out where is it that Joe Biden is truly struggling among black voters. All right. So this is black voters, Biden versus Trump margin. Look at black voters age 50 and older, and you'll see, look, Joe Biden was leading amongst this group at this point by 83 points back in 2020. Now it's 74 points. So yeah, a slight decline in that margin, but nothing out of this world. Look at black voters under the age of 50. Holy cow, folks. Holy cow. Look at this. Joe Biden was up by 80 points among this group back at this point in 2020. Look at where that margin has careened down towards. It's now just, get this, 37 points. That lead has dropped by more than half, Mr. Berman. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless, because you always look at history and you go, okay, this is a historic moment. If this polling is anywhere near correct, we are looking at a historic moment right now where black voters under the age of 50, which have historically been such a big part of the Democratic coalition, are leaving it in droves.
That's just amazing to watch, isn't it? And there's more, but I hope they're both wearing adult diapers, because it's not going to end well. They are so freaking out and weeing in their pants because of this, because they know what a danger it is. And break it down for a minute, because here's the one thing they don't say. Why is he basically somewhat stable with black voters 50 and older, but why are 50 and under voters suddenly just completely leaving Joe Biden and going elsewhere? And well, the answer is obvious, isn't it? Black voters, like white voters, like Latino voters, like Asian voters, like Arab voters, like, Lithuanian voters. If they're under 50, they're all doing the same thing. They're working, they're raising their family, they're paying bills, they're getting gas in their car, they're buying eggs and milk. And they're also entrusting their children to a public school system that isn't going to keep sexual secrets from the parents of those children. They're all living in the exact same country whether they're whatever their race is, and they see exactly what's happening here. Now, a news anchor who is paid to stand in front of a green screen and make little circles on it and talk about numbers, they don't understand because they're living in a bubble. But you get it. We all get it. The fact is, I'm shocked that the number is as strong as it is right now with young voters. Joe Biden has ruined the economic futures for those particular voters 50 and under, and they're old enough to remember just 3.5 years ago and how different it was. All right, let's see if these CNN guys ever get to that point.
That is a huge drop over a 4-year period, at least right now. All right, what's the impact of third-party candidacies here? Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, all right. So obviously we have third-party candidates this year with the two major party candidates being so disliked. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump in the battleground states. This was according to a poll last month from the New York Times, Siena College. Again, looks very similar to what we see nationally, right? Joe Biden at 63, a very poor position for a Democratic candidate. Donald Trump at 23%. If we add Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to this, look where Joe Biden drops to. Less than half the vote among black voters, less than half the vote among black voters in the battleground states. Donald Trump drops as well to 14%, so not quite nearly as historic. But look at this, RFK with 11%. You basically have a legitimate sort of three-way race here. Yeah, Joe Biden well ahead, but with less than 50% of the vote. John, I never thought I would see something like this among black voters.
And for those questioning who Robert Kennedy would hurt more, at least in these numbers, in this measurement right here, Biden loses 14, Trump loses 9. So it's clearly Joe Biden.
It's exactly right. It seems to me this is, yes, it's partially a artifact of Donald Trump perhaps being better liked among black voters, but it's also a real artifact of Joe Biden being significantly less liked among black voters than he was 4 years ago.
All right, a couple of things here. First of all, it's not about Trump being better liked. It's about Trump being less hated because they don't believe the lies that are being told about him. But also, have you noticed something that they've left out here? Boy, I love catching CNN being deceitful. In a two-way race, it's 63 to 23. That's a total of 86. I did that in my head. Math is hard. But if you look at the third parties, it says Robert Kennedy actually not running as a third party, he's running as an independent. It works out to 64%, right? So over here, you've got 86%. Over here, it's 64%. So why the difference? Where are the other voters? You see, there are other third party candidates. When they opened it up to third parties, they also had Jill Stein and they had Cornel West. Cornel West is an African-American professor at Princeton who sees racism in a plate of broccoli, and they're leaving him off of here. Isn't that remarkable? Isn't it remarkable that CNN is supposedly informing its viewers about problems Joe Biden has with the black vote, and when they open up the poll to third parties, they only show one person, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and not Cornel West? I wonder why that is. Why would CNN leave out the black candidate from this poll? Weird, isn't it? Also, by the way, as you see the way CNN reports on politics and reports on the presidential election, it's important to point out that CNN will be moderating a debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And by the way, the only way they could get Joe Biden to agree to do that debate is if they promise not to let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Cornel West or Jill Stein on the stage as well. Isn't that remarkable? It's almost like CNN is not, couldn't possibly be true. Over on MSNBC, they decided instead of just looking at numbers on a screen and acting clueless, they would have decided to take a microphone out and actually talk to, are you ready for it? Black people. Black people don't hate Donald Trump. Let's see how that worked out.
Worry you at all?
No, at all. I think he's going to be elected the president because everyone still wants him as the president. So to me, it doesn't matter.
Biden, they have disrespected the people of the city of New York. This was the best city in the world. We're not the great apple anymore. We're not the big apple. We are the rotten apple.
Biden went on the Charlemagne the God show and said, "You ain't black if you don't vote for him." I'm black because that's what how I was born and what I am. And Trump is the man that can save this country. Period.
So interesting to talk to those voters, Anna, and multiple people actually mentioned that Charlemagne the God interview. I did press back with some of those folks, mentioning some of Trump's rhetoric that's been seen as racist and bigoted. They said they don't have a problem with that. They view his actions over his words in terms of what they feel he can do for their community. Again, the economy, those pocketbook issues over and over again, top of the list.
I love when they report on black voters who vote for a Republican or vote for Donald Trump as if they're space aliens, as if they're reporting on some sort of bizarre, newly discovered zoo animal that they don't quite understand. And they're so condescending and so insulting to those voters. But just take a look one more time. This is my favorite part of the wrap up of this segment.
So interesting to talk to those voters on.
So interesting. I've never met anyone like it. It's so fascinating that they think a certain way, even though their skin color is, well, you know, I mean, those people are all supposed to think exactly alike, aren't they? That's what I was told in journalism school. All right, go ahead.
And multiple people actually mentioned that Charlemagne the God interview. I did press back with some of those folks, mentioning some of Trump's rhetoric that's been.
I pressed back on some of those people mentioning Trump's rhetoric. In other words, I argued with them and said, what are you doing? Don't you know Trump's a racist? Because she's a reporter. Listen, guys, the bottom line here is the black vote is leaving Joe Biden in droves. And yeah, a lot of them are going to Donald Trump. But can I just give you a little advice here as you're looking at all of these polls? And we're going to look at them too as well. First of all, the most important polls are the ones that show you state by state polls, because that's how we elect presidents in this country, not national polls. And secondly, all of them that show the head to head and then the opening it up to the third parties, it's nonsensical to look at any poll right now that is head to head, because it's not going to be head to head. As of now, if everything stays the same, and that's the whole point of doing a poll right now, you're asking people if the election were held today. Well, if the election were held today, this would not be a head-to-head race. So stop showing us the head-to-head race. The only polls that matter right now are state polls that show all the candidates. Yes, that includes Robert Kennedy Jr. It also includes Cornel West. It also includes Jill Stein. You see, that's critically important because, yes, a big number of RFK Jr. voters come from Joe Biden's column. Some of them come from Donald Trump, but most of them come from Joe Biden's column. But Cornel West and Jill Stein, all those voters are coming from Biden. There is not one voter out there who is saying, I don't know, should I vote for Donald Trump? Or should I vote for the Green Party communist, Jill Stein? Gee, I'm just torn. I can't figure it out. Should I vote for Donald Trump? Or should I vote for the African nationalist, I see racism in a plate of broccoli, Cornel West? I don't know. It's a coin flip. That person doesn't exist. So understand, when they keep showing you the head-to-head, it's to make Joe Biden look better. They're running interference for him. Every poll that you should pay attention to, if you're paying attention to polls this far out, should only be state by state and with all the candidates represented. And in those races, Trump does even better.